Hi, guys, and welcome back to Deep Waves Transformation. Today's guest is someone whose life and work beautifully reflect the power of faith, creativity, and healing. Charity Williams is the founder of Hope Words, a creative faith-based movement that helps people experience the presence of God and find deep healing through artistic expression. She's an artist, a writer, and an encourager whose journey through anxiety, depression, and trauma led her to a powerful truth that creativity isn't just a passion, it's a sacred invitation. Through poetry, paint, and heartfelt inspiration, Charity helps others reconnect with their God given creativity and reclaim their hope. Whether you're just beginning to explore your artistic gifts or returning to them after a season of silence, Charity's message is this: when we create, we encounter God, and in that encounter, we find healing. Her mission is bold and beautiful: to awaken the artist within and empower people to live with freedom, purpose, and unshakable faith. Charity, welcome to the show. I am so honored to have you here and can't wait to dive into this powerful conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited too.
Absolutely. Me too. Okay, Charity, can you take us back to the beginning? What was your personal journey like through anxiety, depression, and trauma?
So I'll just kind of start where my trauma happened.
Yeah.
I guess as a child, I've always been creative, so that creativity has always been in me and part of my life. But in 2017, I stopped breathing. I had a cold for about a month, and then I didn't. I was a mom. My kids were 5 and 7 at the time, and so I didn't stop. I didn't pay attention to it. I was like, it'll go away. It always does. Whatever. It's fine. And I kind of just pushed through. To the point to where I couldn't push through anymore. My
Wow.
family had a we set up a camping trip with some friends, and we were going to go camping over Memorial Weekend. And I told my husband, I'm like, I can't even sleep laying down. I had that at that point, I had to sit in a chair and lean forward with my head on another chair, hugging a pillow just to rest, just to sleep at all. Just that I couldn't breathe. Otherwise, my lungs were just so incapacitated. And I'm just stubborn, and I just go to the
Yeah.
doctor. I'm like, I don't know. I'll be fine. I'll get through it.
Yeah. Or
Um,
crying to your ego's fine, right?
I know. Well, I guess I had such a mindset, and it's just totally changed. But I had such a mindset that my body was a machine, and it would just do what it's supposed to do. It would keep going. Like I
Yeah.
just treated my body like a machine and expected it to do stuff. And I really didn't take care of it. I just expected it to be a robot and just do stuff. Yeah, so I didn't stop. I just it'll heal itself. It's fine. We'll just keep going. So anyway, so my husband took the kids and they went on the camping trip with our friends, and I stayed home. Um and I was just like, I just need to rest. I just take the kids and let me have a weekend to myself. And during that time, that night, I felt like God was telling me, you need to create, you need to fight and create. And so I grabbed the biggest canvas that I had, and I, it was a scary canvas. Like when I bought the thing, I was like, God, this thing, I don't think I'll ever paint something on this. It was so big. It was only like 24 by 36, but it was massive to me.
Yeah.
So, he's like, "Go get that canvas," and I set it up in my kitchen, and I turned on some worship music, and I just started painting and just kind of really praying and listening to him as I was creating. And so I felt like he kind of guided me to the colors to paint, and I ended up painting this gold feather. It's pretty. I love it, but um,
Wow.
anyway, during that time, I just encountered God, and I was like, okay, God, like I believe that I'm well. I believe that I'm healed. Like I don't know what's going on. but you do. And so I surrender. I surrender all of this to you. And, I'm just going to create, even though, I mean, it was so hard for me to stand or do anything at that point, because my lungs were so exhausted. Um,
Sure.
and anyway, so I was painting and all of that. And I realized at about 2 a.m. that I'm like, this is serious. I think there's actually something going on. And I think I need my husband home because I might need to go to the doctor.
Wow.
Wow, finally.
Yeah,
So
right?
then, me being the stubborn girl that I am, I waited until 4 in the morning because I didn't want to call him at 2 because that was a little early. So
Yeah.
no, it's so ridiculous. So I called him at 4 and I was like, I think you should come home. So it was about an hour before he got home. And he was home for about 45 minutes to an hour, just kind of watching me and pacing the house and going, what the heck do I do with this woman?
Right.
And he looked at me and he goes, I think we need to go to the ER. And I was like, I think that's probably a good idea. so
Yeah.
so he's like, okay, you go get in the car and I'll take you to the ER. And I'm like, I literally can't sit in a car. Like if I sit upright, because at that time I was on all fours, like I was just
Ugh.
crawling around the floor. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, if I sit in a seat, it's over. Like I just knew it. I just knew in my heart that if I sat up, it was over. And so I remember like, I'm like, God, how do I get to the car without losing it? How do I get there? How, so I remember running bent over. Like sometimes you see old people, they're like really bent in half almost.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just ran to the car and I stuffed myself in. We had a van. So I stuffed myself in on my knees in the back seat. And I was just like, okay, we just got to go. And so he took me. And the last thing that I remember is them telling me, we've got to take an x-ray of your chest. We've got to really look at your lungs. So you've got to sit up tall. You've got to get in this bed and you've got to sit up and you've got to sit still. And I was like, if I get in that bed, I'm going to die. And they were like, you have to get in the bed, you have to sit up tall and you have to sit still. And the still, the more still you sit, the easier of a picture we'll get and we can move on. And I was like, if I get in that bed, I will die. And so I remember like punching the bed and going, no, I can't get in the bed. And then I finally like, they're like, you have to get in the bed. So I got in the bed and I remember them saying, okay, now sit up as tall as you can and hold still. And then I woke up in the ICU several days later. So I
Oh,
was I was
yeah.
intubated. Yeah, I was intubated. I was put into an induced coma for 5 days, and that was what happened. So I did stop breathing. um, thank
Thank
God my
God.
husband had the mind to bring me to the ER and that I was at the ER when I did stop breathing, and that I was, under care because I wouldn't have made it. So I'm like, thank you, Jesus. um,
Yeah.
so then after that, when I woke up, I was so excited. I was like, I'm alive. I made it. I get a second
Mhm.
chance. I was so excited and celebratory and like, I mean, it really felt like I was reborn. And, I love the Phoenix. And so I kind of felt that like, I've been reborn. Like,
I
out of these
love that.
ashes, I will rise. And so it was this whole
Oh,
champion thing
yeah.
until it wasn't. And so I got home and like I said, my kids were 5 and 7 at the time. And I was a vegetable. I was like, I'm incapacitated. I was struggling to breathe. I was exhausted. I slept most of the day. My husband had to do everything. He had to work full time and come home and make dinner and take care of the kids and put them to bed. And, he had to do everything. And so I started to really feel this weight of worthlessness. And I started getting really depressed and I started going, you made it, but for what? It would have been better if you would have died. It would have been, at least they could have moved on, at least
To
your
your point.
husband wouldn't be like having to take care of his vegetable wife and take care of the kids and make the money and take care of the house. And, so I
But
just,
here comes the guilt and the
yes,
shame,
just this
all of the
such,
negative.
yeah, such shame and guilt and weight of like, why are you here? Like, and I was so incapacitated. I wasn't able to do more. I just wasn't. And then I started having moments when I started to kind of move around and get better to where I was mobile again and able to take care of the family um, a little bit better, more.
Mhm.
I would have these moments where I'm like, I'm not breathing. I'm not breathing. I'm not breathing. Okay. And I would text my husband. I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm not breathing. I think you may need to, come and get me. I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
And I remember one time I was at work and I called him, and usually he could talk me through it. He goes, okay, check your body. Are you really not breathing? Or, are you just having a moment? I don't know. So anyway, I called him from work one day and I was like, I'm really not breathing. I worked at Starbucks and I spent a lot of time in the deep freezer because when I would get hot, I would start to not breathe and I would freak out. And I didn't know at the time, but I was experiencing major, like daily anxiety and panic attacks. So
Ye Yep.
I didn't know, I had no idea what was happening to my body. Prior to this experience, um, I kind of mocked people that had anxiety and panic attacks because I didn't
Sure.
understand it. I was like, mind over matter, just stop it. Just like,
Yeah.
cut it out. I had no grid, I had no tolerance, I had no grace for it at all. I just thought people were weak and they just needed to just, put on their big good kid pants and get over it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just saw I'm
Yep.
like, I apologize for that judgment, but it was there. Anyway,
That's
so I
okay.
called my
That's just what happens when we're misunderstood and we're misinformed. That's okay. That's why
yeah,
we bring awareness to all of this. So it's okay.
exactly,
Your fault.
exactly. Yeah, so I called my husband and he came and picked me up and he took me to the doctor because I'm like, I can't control this. Like, this is out of my control. They did all the tests, they did the EKG, they tested my oxygen. Everything was perfect, everything was normal. And I sat on the hospital bed and I looked the doctor in the eye and I said, is this anxiety? Is this panic? It just hit me. Like, it just was like, those 2 words just came in my heart in that moment, and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Panic, you know, manifests as breathing issues, and anxiety comes on like that, and it, triggers all of that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, this is
Yeah.
so much deeper." I'm like, I don't know what to do with this." And so, after that doctor's appointment, at least I had a reason, at least I had a an answer for why I felt the way I felt. I would be sitting in my house with my kids and we would be happy and fine and, happy go lucky. And then I would
Yeah.
swing on my emotions to this rage. I would just feel this rage boiling up in me like, oh my gosh, the noise, it's just too much. I just can't handle it. I just wanted to like hide in a hole and go away. And I was like, at least now I had a reason. I was like, okay, so this is anxiety, this is panic. Now, how do I deal with it? And so I really pressed into God and I said, okay, God, like, you didn't make me crazy. And at some points, I really did feel like I was losing my mind because it wasn't anything I'd ever encountered before. I was like, God, you didn't make me crazy. You didn't give me anxiety. You didn't give me panic. So how do I heal? How do I walk through this? How do I get past this? Because this isn't who I am. This isn't what I'm about. I'm a joyful person. I love my family. I love my kids with everything inside of me. So this has to go. And so
Yeah.
he started really working with me to you know, teach me to breathe. And I didn't have any proper coaching. I didn't even know that these things existed or were part of, mental health or healing or anything. So
Yeah.
it was just me and Jesus, and he's like, "Okay, I want you to breathe and I want you to focus and I want you to imagine your body coming into alignment with mine and breathing with me." And I would feel my feet on the floor and I would feel my legs and I would feel my hips in the chair and I would, all the way up my body and then all the way down my body until I just felt his peace. And I was like, okay, like, all right, I can breathe and I'm okay. I'm not struggling to breathe anymore. I'm not freaking out. I'm okay. It's gonna be okay. Um, and so he just kind of taught me some tools and taught me to really like pause and find him in the pause and find him in those moments when, that rage started building up and going, okay, I told my kids, I'm going to go in my bedroom and I'm going to go be with Jesus. And, there's the snacks and I'll be out as soon as I can. But you guys are too valuable for me to lose it. I don't wanna lose it. I don't wanna yell at you. I don't want to come across angry. It's you guys aren't the problem. It's something that I need to deal with Jesus, and so I would kind of put myself in timeout
Yeah.
and and ground myself and center myself with him and find him in that moment, and over time, that anxiety got less and less, and those panic attacks got less and less, and to where, today I don't have them. I don't, um,
Yay.
I know, it's
Let's
amazing.
celebrate that
I
win.
know, it's
Huge.
amazing. Yes, it is huge. So
It
I
is huge
I just
because let
had
me
my
ask you, when you were speaking about tools,
yes.
A, did the hospital leave you with tools and resources to turn to? Probably not.
No, I don't think so. I don't remember anything
But I
anything.
bet you left with a bunch of prescriptions, huh?
I did have a lot of prescriptions,
Yeah.
and I really struggled with that at first. I felt like it was a lot. I had, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 bottles of stuff that I had to
Yeah.
take and, do, and I struggled with it. I actually went back to the doctor and I'm like, "Look, I don't wanna be on pills, like, how I don't want this. This isn't who I am." And they're like, "Your body needs to rest and reset, and these are gonna help you." And I'm like, "But I don't wanna be on this." And they're like, "You're not gonna be on it forever." And so, yeah, that was a point of questioning. I was like, "I don't want pills. Like, I don't want a gimmick. I don't want a fix. I want to be healthy. I want to be whole." And
Yeah.
so, even when I went for the panic and anxiety, I was like, I don't want anything. I don't want a pill that's gonna dampen who I am and, dull my mind. And I'm like, no, I want to be healed. And so, I went to God with that. And um anyway, over the course of that time of my healing, I became depressed, before I got all the way healed. I was really heavy. I was depressed. Like I said before, I felt like a burden. I felt like a complete burden to my husband, burden to my family. I was ruining my kids because of my mental health issues. And I
Sure.
remember sitting in a chair one day, and I was looking at my feet and I was like, God, I just feel so defeated and so worthless and so like a waste of air. And he told me, he's like, well, you're not. And he told me, he's like, I want you to go to the craft store and I want you to paint a pair of shoes with words on them, to bring hope. So every time that you're depressed and you're looking at your feet, you can read these words of hope over yourself and remind yourself that you're courageous, that you're healthy, that you're strong, that you're vibrant. So I went and got these markers and these shoes, and I painted my first pair of hope shoes, which birthed into a company. And I did paint shoes for lots of people, which
Oh
was
my
amazing. And it
gosh.
really, it
That's
really helped.
wonderful.
Yes, and it helped heal me because it was like, not only was I able to paint those hope shoes for myself and pull myself out, with God's help, um, pull myself out of that depression and give myself that hope and that focus. I was able to give it to other people too, and like be an encourager for them. And like as I was painting these shoes, I was praying for them, and I'm like, God, like these are hope shoes. These are everywhere that these people go. They're bringing their hope. They're bringing their story and their life and their forward motion. And so it really felt. I mean, it just was so good, and it was so healing for me to be able to get beyond me and myself and give to other people. And, what better way than creativity? So,
That is
um,
incredible.
yeah.
Incredible and
So,
powerful and inspirational. Oh my gosh.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, I
so I don't paint them anymore, because it just takes so much time, and I just don't have that much time anymore. Um, but I loved it, and it was so healing, for me, and such a gift to give. Um, so
Did it
that was
almost feel like you were walking the same path as God when you were in those shoes?
Yeah. Yeah,
Is
well,
that
it
connection
was
there?
yeah, I mean, he's so with me and he was so present, and yeah, it really was a way to focus my heart and my attention on his truth instead of the lies that were constantly trying to bombard my brain, of that worthlessness, of "You're so sick," like, "You're so" it was like, "No," like, God said, "I'm courageous." So one of the things we found out afterward, was that this whole cold thing had gone into bronchitis, and, it was like this perfect storm of, allergies like crazy. And, I had no idea I had allergies, up until then, until I got tested and found out more things. But we found out that I was allergic to my environment. So every, tree, all the grasses, all the stuff, and it was year round, but spring happened to be the worst, and that's when I stopped breathing. And so, I remember opening my front door and looking at all the trees blooming and feeling terror in my heart of like, I can't go outside. I can't go outside. Some pollen's gonna get in my lungs, and it's gonna happen all over
Right.
again.
Yeah, and then
Yes.
that triggers the anxiety and yeah,
Exactly, it was so scary, so, like, going to the grocery store is like, I have to go to the grocery store, I have to feed my family, but this is literally terrifying, like, it's so scary to leave my home, and I'm even, like, super allergic to dust, so even being in my home was, like, great,
sure.
you know?
Oh
So
my
it was
god.
just, working through, it was at every turn was something that was wanting to get fear attached to my heart, and wanting to control my mind and wanting to keep me so stuck. And so when I would look at those shoes and I would see healthy across the toe and I would see courage in flames, across the other toe, I go, okay, I can move forward in courage because I know God healed me and I'm healthy. And every step I take, I'm taking in courage and health, courage and health, courage and health,
Oh my
And so I would
that's
just, it was, yeah. So it was walking with God. It was moment by moment. And, it wasn't an overnight healing. It wasn't an overnight, oh, I'm so much better. It's
no.
taken me, 7 years. I think my last panic attack was at the dentist office, of course.
Eh,
Um, those darn dentist
which
chairs.
is so normal, so give yourself some
Yeah,
grace for that, that's fine.
yeah. No, it is, but yeah, it was just one of those things, and I went to the dentist office, and it was just I can't remember if it was for a cleaning or for a cavity, whatever it was. It was the dentist. And I
Right.
sat in the chair and I was like, God, I don't want to be anxious. I just want to rest. I'm so tired because I would cry. Like I would just have, silent tears every time I would get in that chair because it just felt so scary. It's in that position where you already kind of can't breathe very well. Then you've got your mouth open, they're doing stuff in there, and your mouth gets dry, all the things. So it's
Yeah.
all really scary and really triggering for me. And that time I went in and I said, God, I'm tired of this and I don't want to cry today. I don't want to have that anxiety. And he's like, just find me in the room. And so when I got in that chair, I was like, okay, Jesus, I know you're with me. Where are you in the room with me? And he was standing behind me, and he was, sitting behind the chair, and I just leaned back into his lap and he just held me the whole time. And I was like, going through the thing, and I was talking and I was, just there. I was just at peace. And I sat up after the whole appointment and I was like, I didn't cry. I didn't have not 1 second of anxiety, not 1 second of panic, not 1 second of anything. I was like, God, I was like, you showed up for me. Like you delivered me. Like I'm healed. Like this, it was like the last thing that was like still in there. That was still every time I would go to the dentist, I'd be like, okay, okay,
And
And
these are this is what I'm, like, trying to this is what I mean by celebrating those small wins. If you can just make it past a dentist appointment, you know what I mean? Oh my gosh, good
yeah,
for you. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Good.
So
And
he's
then
just,
not only that, but you're learning how to trust again because you feel like you have that comfort. So
yes,
good for you. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So he's just been so faithful and so good. And, he's always so there. And so, um, I think as far as hope words goes, that's one of the things that I love to do is to teach people how to find him, to teach people how to encounter him. And, whether it be through creativity, art, I do art workshops and things like that. But to just be able to find him, to just be able to like go, okay, God, I know you're with me. Where are you? And pause and find him in that moment and lean into him and let him just envelop them and heal them because he's done it for me. And I know he wants to and can do it for anybody, anybody that wants it. So yeah, it's just such a gift to, it's one of those things where you look back and you go, would I ever want to do this again? No.
Right.
But at the same time, I
That
wouldn't
was the greatest year of your life, though.
I
It
mean,
saved you
it's
ultimately.
yeah, it's like I wouldn't not want to be where I am and the depth that I have with God and the walk that I have with him and, the trust and the care that he's, given me um and the ability to just help other people that are going through and to understand like firsthand anxiety and panic. Like so when I see my daughter started to have some major anxiety attacks because of my trauma. She was 5.
Oh,
So,
sure.
seeing her mommy intubated in the hospital and not sure if mommy was going to live or not was really scary for her. And it wasn't until like a couple years later that it started kind of showing up in her life. She would, get really anxious, when we would go to a store or we would go to the movie theaters or, she'd just really clingy and really anxious. And it was like, okay, I remember that. So I was able to like love on her
But
in that
you
moment
the
and go,
tool.
exactly, and give her the
Yeah.
tools that I had learned. I was like, "Baby girl, you're gonna be okay. Let's just breathe. Let's find Jesus. Let's rest in him. You're safe. You're good." And so I didn't shut down her emotions like I would have before. I would have before been like, "What's wrong with you? Quit crying," or like
Yeah,
just I
yeah,
just it was so non-emotional, so non I just wasn't raised that it were emotions were kind of
sure.
bad.
Yeah.
We
No,
just
we
we didn't show
haven't.
emotions. You just toughen up.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
I'm so thankful that God took me through that season, even though it was so hard. But I got to help my daughter, and she's good now. Like she doesn't have anxiety anymore. She doesn't freak out anymore. She's safe at school. She knows she's fine. And the awesome thing is that it has rippled into her friends, so now she can identify people when they're going through, and she goes, "Hey, let's talk about it. And so now she's momming them
Aw,
and like walking them through and like, here's how we deal with this. Here's how we walk through these hard things and your mental health. And I'm like,
yeah.
God, you're so good. Like, it just keeps going and he's just so faithful. So, would I want to experience all of that again? No, but at the same time, I'm so thankful for all of it. I'm so thankful for him walking with me and giving me all the tools and giving my daughter the tools and, her giving her friends the tools and it's this ripple effect and it's so
Well,
beautiful.
first of all, you had to have the strength enough to fully surrender to
Yeah.
your own self,
Yeah.
right? And now you get to be able to heal beautifully with your daughter, which in turn will break those generational patterns. I,
Yes.
that's wonderful for me. Yes, I had to go through that, but what if I hadn't?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Where do you think your daughter would be at today? Even you, you know?
Right.
I'm in
Right.
the same boat. I'm in the
Yeah.
same boat because
Yeah.
I'm preaching it to my daughter and then it trickles on and on and on.
Yeah.
So get that.
Yeah. No, and it's so beautiful. And I think it's just one of those things where you sit back and you're just like, you are so beautiful and you're so brave and you're going to go so much further than I ever could have. You're at 13 years old, you're miles farther than your peers and all of that. It's just I just marvel at it. It's just amazing. So,
And that's the point. Well, for
yeah.
me anyways, is to go through this, learn all of the tools, and then and wisdom,
Yeah,
and then hopefully have that my story as someone's survival guide. Let me save you 20 years of pain based off
exactly.
of my experience and my wisdom, please. And so, yeah,
Please.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do have that relationship with my daughter where it's very beautiful. She's open, receptive, and then you're absolutely right. It gets trickled on through friends and family, and that's how we create a beautiful, healing world. I love
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we start to live with bold faith even when fear's still in the room? How do we shed fear?
I think it's for me personally in those moments, like I said before, it was really finding him in that pause, finding him in that place of like, okay, I'm feeling this, this is going on. And one of the other things that he taught me is to um not be so focused on what's happening on the circumstances, what's happening around me, what I'm
Superficial
yeah,
superficial level? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like, like, okay, you open the front door and you see flowers blooming and, you feel super afraid, but I'm still here. And so find me, and focus on the beauty that the flowers are and not the fact that you're afraid that they might kill you. It's like, for example, one time I went to I went to my allergist. This like transformed my thoughts towards fear, towards the environmental stuff. So I went to my allergist and I told him, I was like, yeah, I was pruning my bushes and I was afraid because they're dusty and they're bushes and I just
Yeah.
didn't know, but I just wanted to so bad. So I'm like, I'm so sorry if it wasn't safe. I'm so sorry if it wasn't wise for me to do that, but I just wanted to to do something. I just wanted to live again, really, but I was so apologetic and he was like he stopped me and he looked me straight in the eyes and he goes, "I'm so proud of you." He goes, "I
Oh,
want you to stick your face in those bushes again and again and again and again." He's like, "You have got to live." He's like, "You go stick your face in every bush you want to." And I was like,
yes.
"But that's dangerous." And he's like, "You're fine. You're healthy." He's like, "You're healthier than you know, and you've got to get your brain to understand that." And I was like, "Oh." So it was like this permission to just do things afraid. It was like, I can just do it afraid and it's okay and I'm going to be okay and I'm healthier than I know. And so, for
Yeah.
me it was and I think that became, it is one of my mottos. It's like, I'm afraid of this. I'm going to do it anyway. you know? And so that,
Yes.
that courage really just kicked in. It was like, okay, this is super scary. I mean, doing podcast interviews, it was scary at first. I was like, "Oh, what do I have to say?" But I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway because I have a story to tell and God is good and he's healed me and there's hope. And the story
Aw,
is, it is, and it's beautiful and he's, so faithful. So I think for me, shedding that fear is, I'm going to do it anyway. You know, look fear in the
yes.
face and tell it to go back, and you're not gonna
Yes.
hold me. You're not gonna hold me down. I'm gonna look you in the face and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. And what I'm gonna do is that thing that you want me to not do because I have to break through. I have to grow. I have to heal. And so it's just that like determination of healing and pushing past that fear. And it's not a mind over matter thing. It really isn't. It really is a leaning in and resting for me is, leaning in and resting in God and going, God, this terrifies me, but you're my strength and you're my guide. And through you and with you, I can do things afraid and I can be bold and I can be brave and I can do the next thing. And so I think it's really just centering yourself and finding that place to go, okay, I'm okay. And yeah, at first it's hard because it's hard to pause when you've got all this chaos going on.
Mhm.
But it becomes normal. It becomes so second nature to just pause and go, okay, I'm okay. Okay, I'm
Yes.
okay.
Practice and
Okay, I'm okay.
repetition
It
will
is.
eventually. start shedding off that fear because fear
Absolutely.
just keeps us stuck in change.
Mhm.
It wants us to sit in that uncomfortableness. It
Yeah.
loves it. It
Yeah.
wants to keep us there.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
more practice and the more repetition, going and sticking your whole face in those flowers, the more you keep doing that, the more you're like, oh, like you said, yeah, I'm okay. I'm alive.
I'm
This is
okay.
great. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and he, and so it is, but it's practicing those tools that God taught me, breathing and breathing through it and finding him and looking for him and doing it afraid anyway and not being stuck, like
Yes.
refusing to let fear win, refusing to let fear keep me chained up and afraid and in a vegetable state. I'm like, I have to live. And whatever living looks like I'm
Yeah.
gonna live fiercely and I'm gonna live fully alive. Like I
Absolutely.
didn't, I think that's one of the things too is I didn't feel like God gave me that chance. I call it my second chance, the rising of from the ashes. But I'm like, you didn't give me a second chance at life to be a vegetable. You gave me a second chance at life to bring hope into the world and to bring light and to bring love and to love well and to love like fearlessly and openly and, you know, tell my story honestly and vulnerably. And yeah, it was hard. But at the same time, it's like how many people go through things alone and they don't know that there's hope, and so they stay in
Which
that
leads
place.
to my next question is what would you say to someone who feels like they've lost their voice or creative spark after trauma?
Oh, that's a good one. So, after can I tell a story?
Please,
Sorry.
please.
Um,
You're
so
just
in
so inspirational. Please continue. Yes.
So in 2019, my dad died, and it was really hard. And I went through a season, and I got really mad at God. Honestly, I was mad at my dad. Why didn't he, try to live? Why didn't he try harder? Why didn't he change his diet? He had a heart attack, and so I was like, why didn't you do the things the doctors told you to do? You would still be here. I got mad at God. I'm like, God, you didn't heal him, and he's like, I healed him. He's just in heaven now. So I'm like, yeah, but I wanted him here. It's not what I wanted,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
after that, I went through this season with God where I was so doubtful and I was so angry. I'm like, if you're good, then why isn't my dad here? If you're so good, then and so I just kind of went through a process of just unraveling a little bit before God. And I'm
Well,
like,
you
I
just went
know.
through the stages of grieving. That's
Yeah,
all.
it was.
And
It was.
anger
Yeah.
is number one. Anger's
Yeah,
right
it
there.
was. Yeah, and it was just like this, but I remember, one of my friends, and I just lost it. Like, I was like, "I'm gonna sell all my art stuff. I'm done. I'm not being creative anymore. I'm done. Like, I don't care about Hope shoes. I don't care about creativity. Like, it's not doing me any good. It's, blah." I just went through this
Yeah.
phase. And then, I had a friend who got really sick, and during this time, and God was like, "I want you to paint a picture for her." And I was like, "I don't wanna paint. I don't wanna do anything. I don't wanna paint. Why would I paint?" He's like, "I want you to paint and I want you to pray for her healing." And I'm like, "My dad just died. I don't want to pray for healing. Like,
Sure.
I don't wanna do this?" And he just kept gently prompting me, and so I was like, "Okay, fine. I can paint for a friend. I don't wanna paint for myself. I don't wanna paint for," I'm like, "I guess I can paint and pray for a friend." So I
Yeah.
got this thing out and I started painting. And as I as soon as I started, it was just this joy flooded my heart and my mind. And it was like, oh,
See, right then and
you
there,
know,
he wanted you to practice gratitude.
exactly.
That's
It
the
was,
gift he gave you.
yes. And it was like, there you are. I was like, you are good. You are faithful. Okay. And so I just started praying and I was praying and painting for my friend and I came back to life and I was like, my creativity was ignited again. It was sparked. And I'm like, okay, like, this is what I'm alive for. Like, I'm alive to be creative. I'm alive to,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so I would say to, a creative that has lost their spark that, you know, the heaviness has gotten down, the depression has gotten so weighty. Um, do it anyway. you know? Just do it anyway, you'll find it again. You'll find that joy starts to flow from your pen, you'll find that joy starts to flow from your paintbrush. And it doesn't have to be, one thing that's I think as artists specifically, um, we always want to make a masterpiece. And of
Yes.
course, it has to be something. It has
Uh-huh.
to be beautiful. It has to be, something that people would like to look at. And it's like, no, I learned in that season of, it doesn't have to look like anything, and it doesn't even have to be pretty. Like, it doesn't even have to be a finished picture. It can literally just be some spots of paint on a canvas and some time with God that, like, I can just let those colors talk from my heart, and let
Mhm.
those colors just get all over and get messy and just let it be messy, because it's in the mess that, like, those emotions are processed and those things can come out. And it's in perfection that we get bound up, and we don't want to create because it's not going to be perfect and it's not going to be good enough, and it's not, well, I don't feel creative and I don't feel inspired and I don't feel, it's like, you don't have to feel creative, you don't have to feel inspired, you don't have to create a masterpiece. Just get some paint and just start
Just
slapping
go.
paint on a canvas, because your heart, that creative part of you needs that to come alive again. It needs that to be fed and to be watered and to be nurtured, because who God made you as a creative is creative, and you've got to come alive again. And the only way for you to come alive again is to surrender and go, okay, I don't feel it. I don't want to. I'm not inspired. I don't have anything in mind. I'm just going to get a piece of paper and a doodle, and, like, it comes back, it just does. And you, all of a sudden, you're just like, I have so much joy in this. Like, why haven't I done this for so long? Um, my brother passed away last summer, and in fact, his death anniversary is in 2 days. Um, but on his birthday in September last year, I just was having such a hard time dealing with it. I was just like at work, and I'm like, I just need to go home and I need to paint. Like, I need to paint. I need to heal. I need to process this. And so I came home and I painted, and then I haven't picked up a paintbrush. I'll be honest, I haven't picked up a paintbrush since then, not out of anything, frustrated or, not going through, not wanting to, just busyness. And over Mother's Day weekend, I did a painting workshop. And as soon as I sat down and started putting paint on my canvas, I was like, oh, so it's
Yeah.
like, it's just doing it. It's making the time to just create. Like, it's so important.
So interesting how
Yeah.
the one thing that you were so terrified to do ended up being what healed you.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, and I think it's so much like you were saying before, it's so much like fear just so badly wants to keep us dull and, you know, like stuck. And it's like it will do everything in its power to overwhelm us and make us believe lies and make us, not move forward. But we have to have that grit for life of, I'm doing this anyway. I'm moving forward. I'm going to get that canvas. I'm going to get those markers. I'm going to get that. And it doesn't have to be anything. You just have to have enough grit to say, I'm gonna do this. I need to do this. I'm gonna do this. Get a notebook and write a poem. Like, when I was processing with my dad, I wrote poetry like crazy, and no one will ever read those poems. They were for me. They were my process. They were, some of them were dark, some of them were angry, some of them were just on a page, but
Yeah.
it was like I had to creatively process because God made me creative, and the only way for me to heal is creative, because that's what he put in me. And so, he uses that design, in us to pull us out and to pull us up and go,
Mhm.
you're more than this. there's so much more ahead. There's so much more hope. There's so much more of a future for you. And your voice matters, like you said before, the person that's lost their voice, um, just just start talking. For me, sharing my story has been a huge part of getting my voice back and going, no, like I have been through, and I'm better because of it. I'm stronger because of it. I'm able to help other people because of it. And it refusing to be quiet, refusing to stay silent and stay subdued and stay in that fear zone of like, well, what will people think about me? I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care anymore. I just
The
want
fear of
people to
judgment
know.
and rejection
Yeah,
is what kept you
exactly.
quiet.
Of like, "Oh, you think that was so terrible? Well, I've been through." It's like, "That's okay, that's your story. Tell your story. Tell your
Yeah.
story and tell people, like, what you've been through." And I think it's important too to, not tell your story from a victim place of wanting attention,
You
of,
just hit the nail on the
"Oh,
head. There we go.
I've just been
Yeah,
through."
you're right. We gotta switch out of that victim mentality role is what the thing is.
Absolutely.
Shed the
Ab
labels, get out of that mindset. Rewire the
Exactly.
subconscious. Let's go.
Exactly. It's like, I'm not that person. I'm
Mm-mm.
victorious. Like, I've overcome. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't have panic attacks. I'm not marked by
Yes.
trauma in a traumatic way. Like, I'm marked by trauma because I overcame. Like, that's okay. Like, I'm good with that. I'm like, I'm the phoenix that rose. Like, you can't kick
Yeah.
me down. I'm the fiery one. I'm burning. I'm excited. I'm ignited. I'm not, "Oh, I went through something hard and,
Or pity.
poor me." It's like, "No, like,
Yeah.
let me tell you the goodness. Let me tell you how to get out of that. Let me tell you how to break through. Let me walk with you. Let me hold your hand. Let's do this." And so, I think, your part of having your voice is empowering others. It's not looking at all that you've got inside of you, but going, okay, what can I use to encourage someone else? And so finding someone to encourage, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, whoa, there's a lot in me that God has put in me that I have been through that I can speak to someone that brings so much hope and so much healing. Like, that's the voice that I want. That's the voice that I'm going to share. That's the voice that I'm going to pursue because that's the voice that brings life. And I'm like, I want to bring life and light and love and hope, and fire everywhere I go.
All the good
You
things.
know.
Yeah.
So
Good for you.
yeah, yeah, I think it's just
What does your purpose look like for you today and how has it evolved? What's your
yeah.
future like?
So, I have hope words, and I encourage people, and I do a weekly live on my Facebook page,
Okay.
just to encourage people. It's 15 minutes. It's not long. It's just a 15-minute like power punch, and it's whatever God's showing me to share. And so I just encourage people and build them up, and it's my 15 minutes, to just say, "Hey, God sees you. He loves you. He's for you. He's with you." And, it's just 15 minutes on a lunch break, once a week. And so I do that. I do workshops where you know, I like to do activation type workshops where it's like, okay, we're going to go into an encounter with God, and you're going to, imagine yourself in a field, and you're, whatever, just kind of walking people through, and then you see God, and he comes close to you, and you're going to look straight into his eyes, and you're going to ask him, what do you want me to know today? What do you want to do today? Whatever the question would be that's on your heart. And just sitting and listening, and hearing him speak back to you, and hearing him talk over you. And he's so good. He just floods you with that love and that peace and that safety. And then from there, taking people through, okay, now we're going to paint that encounter. Now we're going to, paint what he showed you. Whether it's, you know, whatever the art would be, if it's, flowers and life and beauty, whatever it would be. So I love to do that. And I do kind of one-on-one art therapy prayer type stuff with people one on one,
Oh, that's
kind of,
nice.
yeah, like prayer counseling, sort of. So where we would come in and it's confidential, it's private, and we do, art therapy, and we pray and we ask God about certain situations or whatever, and what He wants to do, how He wants to heal them, and then kind of walk them through that prayer time, and then we'll at the end go, okay, now it's time to create um, a snapshot of this moment, of this encounter. And so the way that I see, God, and the way that I create is very graphic design oriented. So it's almost like an imprint of a moment, and so I'm like, I encourage people to say, okay, take everything that you just felt and heard, and what God walked through and healed you from, and then create a picture that when you look at this picture, every time you look at it, you go, God healed me from this. And I can look at it and go, God healed me from this that day. When I created this art, God had healed me from this. And so, you know, it likes to try to come back, and it likes to try to, like, oh, you're not really healed. Oh, you're not really over it. You're not really. And it's like, no, I am, because I had that encounter with God, and God healed me from this. And I created this art to remind myself that I'm healed, that I'm well, that I'm moving forward. So that's one thing.
Would you guys paint words like trauma, anxiety, depression? Would you paint those onto the canvas of what's coming from their minds?
So I've done it a few different ways where, I've had people paint the lies that they've been believing on the canvas, and
Okay,
then
cool.
so yeah, so we've done that before, where we've painted the lies, put all the things out, and then we pray and we move through it, and then we go back over it, and we go, okay, God, you said, I'm not fearful, so I'm confident, and I can, so then they paint, just, it could be words, it could be shapes and colors. Like I said, it could be flowers, it could be, a ship on the ocean, it can be whatever in their spirit, in their heart, is going to signify that breakthrough for them, that healing. Um and so, yeah, it's whatever it looks like in that moment for them, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch them, but it's just, I think it's so important to um I don't know if memorialize is the right word, but it's kind of what's coming to my mind, is to create, a memorial of that healing, that when you look at it, you go, I'm well. It's my shoes.
Oh,
It's
like
like
a
my
vision
shoes.
board. Like
Yeah,
your vision
yeah.
board. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like my shoes. It's like, no, I'm well because God said it. So when I look at my toe and I see courage, I'm filled with courage because God said so. I'm
Yeah.
look at my toe and I see health because I'm healthy because God said so. And so it's the same thing with those pieces of art. And it's like, you can look at those things and go, I'm good. Like, I had an encounter, and and it just builds and it just deepens that moment with him. And then also do group workshops where just do I do paint parties kind of style, where we just paint just for fun. It's just step by step painting just for fun, and we just get together, and if God's showing me something, then I'll share it, and if not, then we're just painting a picture. So yeah, so kind of a lot of different avenues to kind of do creative things. Um, as I was talking with you, I'm like, I should do like a poetry workshop where we just, through, and
Yeah.
so that might be something, on the
See
horizon.
how it just starts flowing once you really learn how to tap in there, it just starts flowing and it won't
It does.
shut off.
It
That's
does.
beautiful. And I'm like, thank you. This is what I mean by blessings and being
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, Charity, I am so, so proud of you.
Thanks.
Like, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. And I am so inspired by your story. And I know that you're going to inspire thousands of other people as well. So keep doing God's work for him and yourself and for the world.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you here today. It really has.
Thank you so much, Tasha. I appreciate your time. You're a
Absolutely.
joy. I love you radiate. I'm like, oh, It's
Well,
so
thank you so
beautiful.
much. Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Well, you guys, I hope
Awes
you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, keep riding the waves of transformation with us. Take care, everybody. Have a good day. For more information on where to find me, please visit deepwavescoaching.com and on my Facebook and Instagram page at Deep Waves Life Coaching. For more information on where you can find Charity, please visit her at hopewords.net and on her Facebook and Instagram page at hopewords.charity, along with her YouTube channel at hopewords.charity. Thanks so much for watching.